Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Annette Feravich with Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. And you can find me on the internet at www.healthymindbodyspirit.net. When I was talking in episode number 6, part 2, I was talking a lot about our drives and our natural tendencies towards fulfilling our needs. And these natural tendencies are a combination of genetic tendencies, and they're a combination of environmental tendencies, things that we've learned through our environment that have been socially constructed. So socially constructed needs is what I'm talking about. Let me give you an example of a socially constructed need. We now have psychological terms that we are using for individuals when they are absent from their phone, or when they forget their phone, or when they aren't able to get on their phone. Right. That, of course, is not genetically based. It is socially constructed, right? It is part of our social norms that individuals now have to be connected in numerous ways. And even when individuals know that connecting can, as several new reports came out, can make individuals anxious and can make them depressed and make them angry and divide relationships, even still, individuals are still getting on their social media. So this drive or this need to be on our social media is something that's been socially constructed. So what I wanted to talk about for just a few minutes today is the idea that we are motivated by many things, and often these motivations can be genetic motivations. I get hungry, I need to eat, right? That is part of my biology. And so that's a motivation. Hunger is a motivation. It motivates me to get my body some resources, right? But we also have many different types of motivation. So what I wanted to talk to you about that fits in with our topic on love and sex in the 21st century is how we get motivated to move to the top of that pyramid or dwell in the bottom layers of that pyramid. All right, so this is what I wanted to do for you today, was reintroduce Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when we look at that hierarchy of needs, let's take a look at how we might move up the ladder to meet some of those more pressing needs, some of those needs that have to do with meaning and purpose in our lives, as opposed to being down and wallowing in the bottom layers of that pyramid. So let's go ahead and take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, his pyramid. Okay, and you can see here that this is Maslow's basic hierarchy of needs. And we've seen this before, but the thing that I want to interject in this video for you on how we move to greater depravity based on our needs is to show you that when we hang out in these basic needs here with our safety and physiological needs versus trying to move along into these greater needs that we have, such as our psychological needs for belongingness, love, and feeling good about ourselves, feelings of self-worth, and then moving on into what are called self-actualization needs, and these fulfill our full potential. What we know as psychologists is that we know that we need meaning and purpose in our lives. And what I have seen, and the inspiration for this series is that I've seen lots of people missing meaning and purpose, which to me means that they are also missing things like real love in their lives, that they are really missing reasons to feel worthy, and they are also then missing real direction and purpose in their lives. I see this significantly with my students, with my friends, with the people I come in contact with individuals that I meet in my therapy sessions. I see this longing for something greater. But the problem is that we've been spending so much time at those last two bottom needs that we see there. Now, why is it that we are motivated to hang out at those bottom two levels, but we're not extremely motivated to move up that hierarchy of needs? And in particular, at this time where we see epidemic levels of anxiety, where we see epidemic levels of depression, and where we see epidemic levels of apathy as well. What is apathy? Apathy is feelings that individuals simply just don't care. And so we see conditions, mental hiccups, mental dysfunctions. We see this occurring more and more often. And it doesn't look like anytime soon events in our society are going to subside in a way that we won't have to be concerned about those things. We continue to see chaos. We continue to see divisiveness. We continue to see lots of individuals that remain upset and angry at what is going on politically, economically, within our families, when we see individuals that don't have integrity, that aren't honest. And what that does is it drives us to soothe ourselves. When we feel this kind of conflict, especially when this conflict is affecting us mentally, right? Our mental health. Because we know that when we are stressed and our mental health is affected, we know that our physical health is affected. So we've got things like the virus that are affecting our physical health and enormous stress that is coming along with this that is affecting our physical health. And what we do as human beings is have natural inclinations to want to self-soothe. And when we self-soothe, what we end up doing is spending more time at the bottom of that pyramid in those lower two levels. We have convinced ourselves that in order to feel better, we need to fulfill our physical needs. And those include things like food, of course, right? That includes things like making sure that we are healthy. So we're going to our doctors more often, right? And relying on our doctors more often. It also means that we may be looking for physical companionship more often as well. So, what ends up motivating us then, again, to stay at those bottom tiers of that pyramid instead of moving up into loving relationships that give us feelings of respect and self-worth, that then help fulfill our needs in such a way that it motivates us then to springboard into something wonderful and doing something wonderful. So, what is it that keeps us hanging out, looking for physical touch, looking for more me time, looking to get underneath the blankets and eat some popcorn, looking to have some kind of physical need fulfilled? Well, number one, when we have control over those physical needs, even if we take a look at the example that we've got with the virus, when we take a look at and take control over those physical needs, what that makes us feel is safe. So that gives us fulfillment in our safety needs. But what we know is that it doesn't necessarily bring us love. It doesn't necessarily bring us feelings of self-worth. We know that in order for us to move up in that hierarchy, what we need to do is give more of ourselves in order to get more in return. And what that does then is it edifies us. It builds us up, and in building us up, we move up that hierarchy. Okay. So what motivates us then to stay at the bottom? Well, first of all, fear motivates us to stay there at those bottom two levels. When we are afraid, and of course, as you know, that have been numerous people who are putting individuals here in the United States in positions of being afraid, of feeling like you don't know and that you have to hand over your control to other people who do know better. It's not a bad thing, obviously, to listen and take advice from other people. That's a good thing. And my needs are different than your needs. So what I tune into and listen may be different and fulfilling in different ways for me than it is for you. So we do need to be open and listen, but we can't be so paralyzed by all the information that it puts us into a fearful state. Okay, what that fearful state does to us is it gets our adrenaline moving, it gets our stress hormone cortisol moving as well, it gets our bodies moving, it gets our hearts moving, and all of these things at this kind of chronic level continue to move in a stressful way, whether or not we have an object and a solution to our stress. So what we end up doing is maintaining these chronic stress levels, and that's what affects our health. It also affects our motivation then, because what that does is it motivates us to feel safe, to get rid of that fear. So that's the number one reason why we hang out at those bottom two levels and may look more at depravity as a possible solution than taking the efforts to move up that ladder. Okay, why else might we decide to move into depravity as opposed to moving up that hierarchy of needs? Well, if you take a look at that bottom rung there where we're talking about our physical needs are, as our safety needs right now are, in front of our eyeballs all the time. And so that's what we see now more often. What we see things in front of our eyeballs all the time. And so why do I think that the motivating factor is going to be an item that is going to fulfill my pleasures, some kind of pleasure of the senses? Because they are in front of my senses all the time. Why am I looking to fulfill pleasures of my senses? Because my senses are being enticed all the time by advertising for pharmaceuticals that's going to soothe all kinds of my ailments, advertising for all kinds of supplements, or advertising for vacations that are going to take you away, right? Or give you energy like you've never had before. So all of these promises are physical promises, is what they are. And what do they promise? They promise to relieve your fear, is what they promise. And so, why do we hang out at those bottom two levels? Because they are pleasing to our senses. They are the most pleasing, and they are highly recognizable solutions to whatever ails us. It's not that we don't think that a loving relationship can help us and relieve whatever ails us, but we know that takes a lot of effort. And so what do? We go for what is easy and what is right in front of our face. And so what I would like to challenge you to do is to see what you are being motivated by and what you are being motivated to do. Because that motivation is going to drive you in one direction, up that ladder, or the other direction, down the ladder. We don't stay stagnant. And in our dating relationships, which is what this episode is about, our dating relationships will drive us then towards one end of that pyramid or towards the other end of that pyramid. Is that dating relationship all about sensuality and getting physical needs met? Then what that is going to do is it's going to lead to selfishness, loneliness, and depravity. And remember, depravity is being morally corrupt and being wicked. When we move down that pyramid, We are not capable of feeling those feelings that motivate us to continue with our journey, that motivate us to inspire other people, that motivate us in our careers, that motivate us to give things back to society. We cannot do those things when we are simply relying on fulfilling our physiological needs and our safety needs. Okay, and so I hope that that gives you just a little bit of a summary of how we are making choices to change our patterns so that we have more control over the outcomes. And what are we looking for in those outcomes? We're looking for love. We're looking for feelings of self-worth. And we are looking to be able to say that we have done wonderful things for this world and for our family. And when we don't take those steps, then what we do is we move into self-fulfillment, self-absorption, and depravity. Okay, so today I wanted to make sure that I had a today's question because I didn't give you a today's question at the end of this video. For today's question, what I have for you is I would like you to consider thinking about the types of motivation for depravity that individuals demonstrate when you watch this movie that I have there, Human Zoos. And so I'm hoping that maybe that some of my presentation here, especially as we move into the concept of love and depravity, I'm hoping that some of that has motivated some of you to love one another and some of those things that motivate us to love ourselves more. What I would like to know and what I am most curious about is what you think are some of the reasons that individuals would be willing to move down the ladder instead of moving up the ladder. What do you think are some of the motivations for moral corruptness, for wickedness, for depravity? And again, I would like you to take a look at that with respect to watching that movie, Human Zoos, and see what you think might be some of the philosophical reasons that individuals would be more willing to see themselves as hanging out at those lower levels as opposed to moving up the ladder and getting your real needs fulfilled. We know that right now we truly need individuals who are willing to step up their game in order to make real contributions. We've got a lot of people, as I've said many times, that are hurting. And we have a lot of real leaders out there that can make a difference in a lot of people's lives. So what I'm asking you to do is, I'm asking you to think about and consider different ways that you might be able to not only edify yourself by moving up that pyramid, but also think about ways that you might be able to edify other people by building our greatest need, our needs for one another. Depravity. This is Dr. Annette Feravich with Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. Please find me on the internet at www.healthymindbodyspirit.net. Please remember to subscribe to my videos, and please remember to like my videos if you like them. And also, the big thing is share my videos. I really think that I'm getting a lot of great information out there about what is going on health-wise with individuals, both mentally and physically. And so I'm really hoping that you are learning a lot from these videos that I'm trying to share with you. All right, that's all I have.